What Black Lives Matter only when it's police brutality? Black lives don't matter when them 6 children got murdered in Chicago on Father's Day. Where were they at then? They wasn't out marching and protesting and this and that. But Black lives only matter when it's when it's a police taking a black life, but not when another black person is taking another black life. So that whole movement is bullshit, and it's just a form of distraction to keep us distracted, and to keep more separation amongst the people, to keep us divided. Divide and conquer. It's a simple war tactic.
So I figured since David Menzies has been having so much fun covering the protests over on the east side of Canada, actually scratch that, maybe it's not always fun and games since David and some of the other crew members have been assaulted for covering such stories. But nevertheless, I thought it would be a good idea to highlight what a protest out here on the west side of Canada is like. I'm Drea Humphrey with rebelnews.com, and on Sunday afternoon, approximately 50 people took to the streets of Vancouver, BC to protest the pandemic lockdown. This is part of an ongoing No New Normal protest that meet weekly. Protesters held signs in opposition to things like masks, contact tracing, lockdown restrictions during a march that started at the Vancouver Art Gallery. The No New Normal protesters want businesses, schools, churches, sports, and community centers to be fully open, and they definitely don't want to be forced to wear a mask. The protest marchers attracted a lot of attention from public, and some of it ended in peaceful disagreements. But not everyone there was opposed to the protests or the protesters' message. Numerous vehicles passing by honked in support, as well as one pro-Trump black man who told me he was stranded in Canada during the coronavirus-inspired border controls. I asked him about Black Lives Matter, Canadian media's obsession with hating Trump, the pandemic new normal, and what he thinks is behind the new societal discord. I think you're really gonna enjoy or be blown away, I'm not sure, at what he has to say. Check it out.
Okay, so you were just walking right by the protest and you kind of just said, hey, those are my people.
Right, absolutely, because I've been preaching the truth, realizing that this whole COVID situation is all bullshit. Let me mic up.
Oh, sorry, I'll just hold it.
Okay. Yeah, I just been realizing that this whole COVID thing has just been all bullshit. Propaganda, ways for them to continuously keep these borders closed. The whole lockdown just had a whole effect on our whole immune system, our whole health, and they just want us sick. And the perfect timing with this election coming up in November. And now, like, I'm an American citizen. I actually been stuck here in Canada since this whole situation has transpired. Yeah, so.
Okay, so you're seeing both sides of everything.
Right.
What do you think about Canadians' obsession with hating Trump? What do you think that's all about?
It's the propaganda. And I really think that I would advise people to use, for me, I didn't really know too much about politics, but what I seen was there was a couple of times there was headlines saying Trump said this, and after thoroughly investigating and watching the video or whatever it was, that whatever media or content was being promoted, and I actually got to see what Trump was actually saying. It wasn't whatever the headlines were being pushed. So for me, I've never seen in America, honestly, in all my life, I've never seen, and not to put labels on it racist, but white media attack a white man so much. I've never seen it ever in my life. So I think that obviously there's something that he must be doing right, because these people own all the major media outlets. And I know that they put propaganda out just for people to believe this narrative, that narrative. But if people do the research and just dig a little deeper and have an open mind, that they'll realize that, like, Trump is actually for the people. And I think that just America has just pressed this narrative that I think that people just assume, like, people, most people are sheep. It is what it is. I ain't here to play no games. But I feel like most people are just sheep, and they fall into this way of thinking because that's how most people think. So,
right.
My advice is for people to just do your due diligence, do your research, just dig a little bit deeper, and kind of block out the noise, the white noise, and everything that you've heard, and just kind of be informed for yourself. Not like being informed based on what this person has told you, that person has told you, but just do your own research and have an open mind and discover your own opinion.
Right. And then what about Black Lives Matter? Do you think that ties into any of all this?
No,
Or
but Black Lives Matter is government. Black Lives Matter is what's homeboy's name?
Marxists? Or
No. George Soros, government, Boule. Like, so Black Lives Matter, the movement has been hijacked. It's not, the movement has been infiltrated. So, and then when you really look at it, what Black Lives Matter only when it's police brutality. Black lives don't matter when them 6 children got murdered in Chicago on Father's Day. Where were they at then? They wasn't out marching and protesting and this and then. Black lives only matter when it's a, when it's a police taking a black life, but not when another black person is taking another black life. So that whole movement is bullshit, and it's just a form of distraction to keep us distracted, and to keep more separation amongst the people, to keep us divided. Divide and conquer. It's a simple war tactic.
For Rebel News, telling the other side of the story from the streets of Vancouver, I'm Drea Humphrey. It's our job here at Rebel News to tell the other side of the story, whether it's about Black Lives Matter, the pandemic, Justin Trudeau, or even about Vancouver, BC. To support the work we do as independent journalists, please go to helprebelnews.com. We appreciate your support.